Bring in Representative Hank Johnson of Georgia. He's a member of the Judiciary Committee, and he's chairman of the subcommittee on courts, intellectual property, and the Internet. But he is, for purposes of our discussion as well, the secretary of the Congressional Black Caucus. His district is the north and east of Atlanta. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us today. I just want to read something that you said about the riots. You said you support the demonstrations, I should say, because they weren't all riots. You support peaceful protests. Heartening to see diversity, but provocateurs don't share protesters' goals. Some want anarchy, others want race war. Peaceful demonstrators should take pictures of lawbreakers, outsiders destroying our cities. Violence, property damage are not the answer. What do you make of what happened across the country last night? Were those protests? Were those provocateurs? Were those vandals? What do you make from it?
Well, it was a little bit of everything in there. But I can tell you our young people are very frustrated, and they feel that they have no alternative but to take it to the streets. And they do that during the daytime, and they do it at night. And it's a reaction to the reality under which our people are living, and that is we are under constant threat of police, excessive use of force, and oftentimes death. When you look at the statistics in this country of police shootings and police killings of civilians, even though we are 13% of the population in this country, we make up probably about half of the people who are killed every year by police. And it's gotten to the point where our young people feel that they are in a state of war. They actually feel like it's open season on black people in this country. And the statistics bear that out. And it's just continues to happen. And anytime you have a killing as brazen as the one involving George Floyd, on where the officers understand and know that they are being captured on video, but yet they persist. Even after a pulse, it's announced that there's no pulse in George Floyd. And they still that officer kept his foot on Mr. Floyd's neck until he was dead. And he should pay the ultimate price. And, when nothing happened, when this thing looked like it was going to be swept under the rug, just like all other or many other cases involving police brutality just get swept under the rug. This time, young people across the country weren't having it, so they took to the streets. And the result is that we do have some provocateurs among us. There are some people whose motives are not the same. They're not interested in protesting for justice. They're interested in creating conditions for a race war. They're interested in anarchy in our society. And those are things that law-abiding citizens should not tolerate.
Representative Johnson, you have worked hard in Congress to put forward various pieces of legislation that would deal with this, including the Police Accountability Act, which would allow the Department of Justice jurisdiction to bring criminal charges in murder against police officers, the Federal Department of Justice, the Grand Jury Reform Act, the Cooling Off Period Elimination Act, the Stop Militarizing Law Enforcement Act. How much of this can be done at a federal level versus what a lot of places like Minneapolis and a lot of other cities say is a municipal problem? It's a municipal policing problem. It's in this case, the county attorney for Hennepin County, who, has said things all week that have been unsatisfactory to people about bringing charges against this police officer. Is this a federal problem or is this an everywhere problem?
Yeah, it's a national problem because these killings of unarmed black people are taking place across the country. In various jurisdictions, over 18,000 local jurisdictions in this country, 50 states. And each one of them choose to deal with the issue of police accountability in a different way. And oftentimes, and most of the times, it's ineffective for holding police accountable for what they do. And so the Police Accountability Act, the Grand Jury Reform Act, and the Cooling Off Period Elimination Act, as well as the Stop Militarizing Law Enforcement Act, all of those put together would help to level the playing field. It would ensure that when federal dollars go to jurisdictions across the country for grants and that type of thing, that they be conditioned upon there being state laws in accordance with the federal practices or best practices that are established in those 4 pieces of legislation that I just named off. And so it's clear that in order for there to be accountability, it's going to have to be a federal involvement. And the federal involvement has to do with making sure that states have laws that reflect the values that we put in our federal legislation.
Congressman, thank you for your time this morning. Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia. I just want to show